Welcome to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. I am your host, Sharna Southan. I am an angel mum, a rainbow mum, a pregnancy loss practitioner, and trauma-informed coach. I created the Institute of Healing Through Pregnancy Loss out of my own experience with loss in the hopes to provide understanding and healing, educating people on pregnancy loss, and creating more women or men in trained support roles. In this podcast, I hope to shed light on what I wish I knew in relation to pregnancy loss, opening up the conversation, breaking the stigma, and bringing real-life stories plus guest experts. Thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, beautiful souls, to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. Today, I have with me Chris Wood. Chris and his wife have experienced 5 years of fertility issues, have had 2 miscarriages, 1 termination for medical reasons through an ectopic pregnancy, and 1 neonatal death, and failed rounds of IUI and IVF. Chris has gone on to do some incredible things to raise awareness for Liam's legacy, for everything, raising awareness in terms of everything about loss. Welcome first, Chris.
Thanks, Sharna. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and tell our story.
You're so welcome. I love everything about what you have done and what you're doing. And I kind of just wanted to also get a male's, point of view on the whole grieving process after loss, because like I said, before we started recording, there's this whole misconception on men and grief. And, coming from a woman's perspective, it can look like the men isn't grieving, or they're not going through the same stages or the same process, and they're not on the same page. And it can cause a lot of friction, I guess, within couples. So do you want to share a little bit first about your story and sort of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so my wife and I got married in 2015, got married on my 27th birthday. And, we didn't start trying for a couple of years. And then we had a miscarriage in 2018, at the start of 2018. And it was around Easter time. And we went to the hospital on Sunday. Beth was having a bit of cramping and bleeding. And we went to the emergency room and, went through the process of, finding out there was no heartbeat. We lost the pregnancy, and then she was meant to go back in early in that week to have a D&C, and we didn't get a call from the hospital, and Beth ended up miscarrying in the shower on the Wednesday. Yeah, that was to that point, that was probably one of the worst days of my life, sitting there watching her, literally watching our pregnancy go down the drain, like, physically. And yeah, that was really hard to deal with. And I went a little off the rail for a while. And then, we had a couple more years of fertility issues, no luck naturally, a couple of failed rounds of IUI. And then we started our first round of IVF in the start of 2020, which was unsuccessful. And then we did another round in 2021 where we got 2 eggs. The first one didn't take. And then the second one was Liam's embryo. And that turned out to be a twin pregnancy. So we went from pretty much 5 years of fertility issues to pregnant with twins, and which, it's a massive shock to the system, but it was one that, we were very grateful for. And then at the start of 2022, Beth miscarried the first embryo. So what, one of the twin pregnancies, and Liam's embryo continued. And we believe that it was at some point within the embryo passing through, her body, that it's clipped Liam's sac, and basically Beth's water broke at about 16 weeks with Liam. And we found that out at the 20-week scan, that there was no fluid around him. And, basically we started the hospital process from there, and went to yeah, went through Royal Brisbane, and he was born at 30 plus 30 weeks gestation. And yeah, he had a lung condition called pulmonary hyperplasia, which is basically where the lungs haven't developed due to the lack of fluid throughout the pregnancy. And yeah, he died at 22 hours old. So 1 day old. Yeah.
I can only imagine all of what you have been through. Like I'm sitting here getting goosebumps where all of the heartache that you've gone through, yourself too, and your wife. You know, there was one thing that you mentioned with the first, I guess the first miscarriage where she was in the shower, you know, when I can relate that so much to my own story and going through that and miscarrying in the bathroom and then my husband just watching on. But I was
Mm.
so consumed, obviously, with what I was going through. It was really hard to see anything that he was going through.
Yeah.
And then to hear you saying that, you know, you're literally just watching your first pregnancy, the first birth go down the drain and how it affected you.
Yeah.
It just makes me sort of go back to what my husband might have been thinking and
Yeah.
feeling. What were, thoughts and emotions and stuff that you were experiencing at the time?
I was a mess for a fairly long time. Yeah. It was exhausting. I'm a pretty emotional guy. So, I wear my heart on my sleeve with a lot of things. And it was, the thing, like all the things that my wife's been through physically, I just want to take, I want to take the pain. I want to take the pain away, and I just can't do anything. She had thyroid cancer in 2015 as well. And, I was 26 at the time, and, turning up to the hospital after she'd had, 6 hour surgery, to remove her thyroid, and that, and seeing her in a hospital bed was pretty, that, was incredibly difficult. Yeah. I want to make her proud, and I want to take her pain away, and to not be able to do that is very difficult.
I can imagine. And I think that's it's such a noble thing for you. And I think it's also the way that my husband felt the same way too. He
Yeah.
could see me falling apart and he just wanted to take my pain away.
Yeah.
And it could be part of the way that you're conditioned, part of the way that, as a man, you don't want to see
Yeah.
your wife going through that pain, and that you would do anything to take that away. And with, pregnancy loss, it's something that's just so out of our control. There's nothing that anyone can do to take the pain away.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, I don't know, you probably feel like you're in between a rock and a hard place at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
What were maybe some ways that you found coping for you, like that worked for you?
Music was definitely a good therapy. One thing that definitely didn't work was drinking. That just made things worse. And, I went through some self-inflicted harder times than what they probably should have been. But, my mum and sister were very, very good to me in that time, and very helpful. And, Beth as well was very helpful. Big one was just, especially after Liam died, was just letting me speak and tell my story and talk about him. And that's definitely probably been the most helpful thing. I feel like I'm just like any other parent. I'm incredibly proud of him and the fight that, he had in his time, that he showed in his time. And, just like any other parent, I want to talk about, my child. And the only, difference between us and, parents with living children is, ours are not really. I still have the same feelings, same emotions, and same joy. Yeah.
I think that's one of the things as well, isn't it? Like, a mum can easily feel like, am I even a mother after going through loss?
Yeah.
Because you don't have anything then on the external, like anything to show.
Yeah.
But you would feel it too, but even more so because of I guess a woman can have that connection with the baby through the pregnancy and still question whether
Yeah.
or not she is a mother. And then for you to question, was that a question that went through your mind? Like, am I even a
Um,
father?
no, it never crossed my mind, but I definitely know a lot of men that, I feel like men have to be better at supporting, other men. I definitely had a couple of guys say some stupid things to me, and it's like, I just, couldn't believe it. Like some of the things that they'd say, but people just have this sort of, I need to be a tough guy sort of blokey bloke approach to things. And it just, you know, it annoys me. But yeah, I never really felt like that, or always knew that I was a father. And, I held my son in his hands while he took his last breath. And, nothing that, anyone says to me is going to take that away. So,
Mm.
okay. But,
I think that is one of the hardest things, isn't it? Like that society puts on a man, like you
yeah,
have to be this blokey bloke. You can't show emotions.
yeah,
You can't be sad. You can't grieve. Was that like, I know you said you wore your heart on your sleeve, so you're obviously a
yeah,
little bit more in touch with your emotions than some men are.
yeah.
Was that hard for you though, like to go through that grieving process?
Yeah, it was definitely hard, and yeah, it was definitely hard. When I was down, I was really down and, in some pretty dark places. But, it was women that got me out, you know, got me through the darkest times. And yeah, as I said just, 30 seconds ago, men need to be better at supporting men because yeah, there's just things are going to get worse. I feel before they get better if people keep having this, sort of tough guy approach to everything.
Mm. Yeah.
I think there was probably a string of about at least 4 or 5 weeks where I cried every day, and I've got no issue saying that. Like, so there's nothing wrong with it. Your emotions are better out than in, I
Mm.
feel.
Yeah. They are. And like, and you obviously, and like you said before, go trying to numb that pain with alcohol and stuff. It
Yeah,
doesn't work. Like trying to ignore the pain, trying to ignore the emotions with something to numb it out doesn't
yeah,
work. And so, like you just said, feeling the emotions is
yeah,
the way that we can heal. But having that, you know, in the people around you saying, suck it up, like you got to be
yeah,
this tough person, you can't feel your emotions, like it'd be a very sort of hard place for you to try and navigate as well,
yeah,
for you to be authentically you and feel the emotions, and then realize that you don't have that support on the outside of you from other men
yeah,
is
yeah,
is really be really hard place to be in.
yeah. It is. It's very difficult, and what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for the next person. But I kind of feel like people just need to. I don't like saying accept because no one should ever, accept that their child's dead. Just I don't know. It just shouldn't be something that someone has to go through. But the reality is that it happens. It happens, every day, and having open, honest conversations is going to contribute to making it a bit more normalized and, you know, giving people a platform where they feel like you know, they can talk openly, is definitely a massive, push in the right direction. You know, organizations and people like yourself, starting podcasts and giving people just everyday people, platforms to tell their story and express themselves is huge, I feel.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know we had this conversation a little bit before we started too, is, hopefully by us talking about it and
Yeah.
normalizing it, that the generations to come don't have the same stigma
Yeah.
attached to it that, we're trying to navigate through.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
by you being able to open up and share your story and how what you've been able to navigate also gives men permission to go, well, actually, maybe I wanted to feel those emotions, but I felt like I couldn't.
Yeah.
And by you opening up and sharing how you've been able to process it gives them
Yeah.
permission to go and be able to do that for themselves.
Yeah. And I feel like it's bigger. It's a bigger piece of the puzzle than just me, you know, like if I'm in a huge funk, then, you know, I'm not a very good husband. I'm not a very good brother, not a very good son. You know, I'm not a very good friend. Like, so it's, you know, we've got to, like, especially as men too, we've got to be able to help ourselves as well before we can help other people. And by trying to improve ourselves and make, you know, find ways to deal with, you know, with our problems, then that gives, you know, it's a bigger flow on effect, you know, too, especially, you know, in particular for husbands and fathers that, you know, dealing with their wives and children every day. Like, it's just make the world a more better place, I feel.
Yeah, I think that's a good point for anyone to take away. You know, we've got to take responsibility for where we're at and what we need to do and how to support ourselves and, you know, looking after ourselves first so that we can then show up for the people that mean something to us
Just
in our
being a better
lives.
human being as well.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know,
And for men to stop with this like notion of you have to be strong. You can't show your emotions. You got to show up this way. And this means that you're a man.
society, you know, contributes to that
Mm.
a lot as well. And, you know, yeah, with all these type of things being a bit more normalized and everything, then, yeah, I feel like it's only a positive thing.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely agree. And I want to acknowledge all of the stuff that you've done since
I appreciate it.
with you mentioned that you did a fundraiser for Red Nose
Yeah.
for Liam's legacy.
Yeah.
And you also coach a footy team. Do you want to share a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, sure. So at the start of the year I started a touch footy team of bereaved dads, and I knew a couple of guys that had lost kids through my business last year. And then I got in touch with Red Nose and just posted in one of the, you know, Facebook community groups that Red Nose have, and just asking if there are any bereaved dads in the group that were interested in playing. And, you know, there was about nine of us in total. And yeah, you know, it's been a massive help for me as well. You know, we go to the pub every now and then as well and just sit around and, you know, talk a bit of nonsense. And, you know, the main thing is just giving each other a platform to, you know, feel comfortable and, you know, talk about our losses and talk about our kids in a safe environment where other guys feel comfortable. Yeah.
It's like, you know, you could talk about nothing but if someone actually was having a really tough day, they would know that they had that safe place and the people
Yeah.
around them that deeply understood what they were going through. It could open up and get the support that they need.
Especially with, you know, with anniversaries and birthdays coming up, and like we're all completely aware of what the other guy's going through. And a couple of the guys, their wives are pregnant at the moment too. So that's a massive platform for them to sort of connect with each other. And they don't, you know, necessarily have to talk about, you know, what they're feeling amongst the group, but it gives them the same sort of connection, like all the negative thoughts and everything and the anxiety that's going through their head. You know, the guy beside them's either been through it or is currently going through it as well. So it brings them together.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, just such a beautiful connection, especially for men to know that they have, like you said, that safe place and they can open up with, because mental health is a huge thing that goes into, you know, obviously loss and navigating pregnancy after loss as well, because there's just so many fears of, you know, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
So also to have that support from other men is of immense value, I can imagine. And to have that with a footy team, like even better.
Yeah. And it takes away that numbness as well. Like we had to terminate pregnancy at the start of the year, and like in my mind, I kind of, you know, already felt like as soon as we found out that we were pregnant, already felt like it was going to, you know, it was not going to be successful. And I don't know why, but that's just that's just how I felt. And, you know, it's a very, very common feeling for a lot of people. And yeah, especially if guys don't really have too much of a platform to talk about how they're feeling, then that sort of translates into all these other areas of their life in a negative way. But yeah, if they've got a couple of guys that they trust enough to tell or talk through, then it's a lot better than not.
One in 4 pregnancies will result in miscarriage. 1 in 8 women will experience infertility. 1 in 100 women will experience recurrent miscarriage. And 1 in 160 births end in stillbirth. Have you been wanting to make a difference in the lives of women or men who have experienced pregnancy loss because you can see so many suffering in silence, but you just don't know how? Collectively, we can change how bereaved parents can access mental, physical, and emotional support after their experience. There is a lot of women with unhealed trauma, and there is a huge gap in the current support system when it comes to bereaved parents' recovery after loss. There are too many women and men suffering in silence. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner Certification is a worldwide, one-of-a-kind program that gives you proven methods designed for healthcare professionals, medical staff, midwives, nurses, doulas, birth workers, coaches, and angel parents alike. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner Certification is bridging that gap. It will give you a proven support structure to follow and education specific to pregnancy loss, created by a loss mum. It is creating more education specifically for loss so that you can enhance your service and become the point of difference. Or you can create the support that you so desperately needed in your healing after loss. This is the next level of growth and expansion you have been searching for. So does this sound like something that you have been searching for? Let's explore this more together. You can head to the episode show notes where you'll find the program application, or direct message me on Instagram and let's open up the conversation in how you can use this education. You have a gift, and I look forward to supporting you and witnessing you bring your gift to the world, healing and transforming women's lives. Absolutely. To be able to put a voice to it and not push it all inside, because it's such a valid, thought process, belief, because, if you haven't experienced, even if you have experienced a healthy pregnancy, but then you've had a loss or losses afterwards, you know that it's not ever guaranteed that you're going to have a healthy pregnancy.
Yeah.
And it's such a valid belief that, when you do fall pregnant, it has the possibility of not, ending and resulting in a healthy pregnancy. Pushing those big feelings and thoughts back inside isn't healthy. Being able to put a voice to them and be able to talk to other people that are obviously navigated that as well. And then for them to say, oh, I felt that too. It takes that heaviness off it. It takes the weight off it.
Yeah, massively. Like especially with things like SIDS or stillbirth, where it's completely sudden, 1 second your baby's alive and then the next second it's not. In our situation, we had potentially 10 weeks to prepare for the fact that Liam may not have survived. And it doesn't make it any easier to deal with. But yeah, when you've just been hit by a Mack truck, like literally in a matter of seconds, that's a lot of heavy stuff to, be carrying around. And if you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to or another male to talk to, then it's even harder to deal with. And yeah, it's just, yeah.
That the thought of losing, so we ended up having a rainbow pregnancy and she was healthy, but the thought of loss runs through almost every
Yeah.
single day of trying to parent her. And when she was a newborn, the whole concept of SIDS was like
Yeah.
constantly running through my mind. Like I barely slept and all because I was just watching her. I just needed to
Yeah.
see that she was breathing. And it's such a hard, like, and I hear so many women saying, oh, I'll just fall pregnant. I'll have a healthy pregnancy again and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't, no, it doesn't work like that. And,
Yeah.
you know, even with all of the knowledge and support that I've had, I still have this fear.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that support and you haven't been able to heal and process and recover, then, you know, I mean, healing is an ongoing journey. It's an ever evolving
Oh,
thing.
for
It's not
sure.
like you've ever cut and dry and one day you're done.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you don't have that support or you haven't received any help navigating the loss, then it's just, it, like you said before, it has this snowball sort of effect. Like it affects then so many other different areas of your life. And then parenting after loss is just,
Yeah.
it could be debilitating because that fear it is consuming.
Yeah. It's so suffocating. Like it's
Mm.
so suffocating as well. And, you know, mentally and physically exhausting. And yeah, I don't, you know, a lot of people don't get that and they think it's just, oh yeah, I'll just have sex and 9 months later we'll have a baby and everything's all rainbows and
And butterflies.
sunflowers and all happy. But yeah, for another you know, chunk of people and couples, it's the complete opposite.
Mm. Yeah. It never goes away. But the thing when you've got that support is you've either got someone to talk to process those thoughts and like emotions and beliefs. You've got a safe place to talk them out. You've got possibly tools that have worked for someone else, or if you see a therapist, a counselor, a coach, you've got someone on the outside of you to say you can try this when this happens, like when you're consumed with that fear or you're in the midst of like a panic attack. So, given how you've been able to create this, you know, incredible environment for men, what is something that if there is another man going out there navigating maybe the depths of grief or they're coming out of it, trying to
Yeah.
find that sense of, you know, what do I do now? Like,
Yeah.
what is maybe a piece of advice that you could give to another man going through this time?
Yeah. It's really important to I feel like it's important to find your circle and, you know, people that you thought were going to be there for you, you know, may ghost you completely, but there's, you know, there's other circles out there. You know, there's other bereaved dads. There's plenty of bereaved dads, and you know, chances are, whatever you're feeling, multiple people, you know, felt the same thing before you, and yeah, it's just I feel like it's just really important to, you know, to find your circle and just keep looking for it. You know,
Mm.
like, you know, the answers to the problems and questions that I had were definitely not in a bottle, and that yeah, definitely contributed to me being, you know, in a shittier mood with the world. But yeah, there's people out there that are willing to support you. I feel like you've just got to keep looking for them
Mm.
until you
Yeah.
find them.
Yeah.
There's a couple of support networks too for dads. There's probably, I don't really feel like there's as much support for dads as what there is for mums, but they're still there, and it's, you know, it's always progressing. Yeah.
Mm. And like you said before too, like if you can't find it with the people maybe that you were friends with prior,
Yeah.
if that support's not there with that group of people, then definitely keep looking for
Yeah.
some other group or some other men that are just going to deeply understand you. And they are there, they're out there.
Yeah. And I also just want to say, like, if if you feel that you're not finding your network, then try and create your own. You know, like the only reason that I started the process of, you know, the touch football team was, you know, I was just really frustrated with the system at the time, and it took me about 6 psychologists to find one that would, you know, that would see me, and then I just didn't I felt like what I needed was to be around guys like in a sporting, setting as well. And especially guys that had been through what I had. So I felt like I didn't really have anything to lose in, regards to a simple post in a community group. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Feel like I've already lived my worst day. So what's, someone saying no to me gonna do? So be it. Like, so yeah, that's just how I felt.
Yeah, I like that. I like, if you can't find what you're searching for, create it. Because that's for me,
Yeah.
that's what you did. You wanted to create something.
Plenty of guys have done that as well.
Yeah. And and we need to build that up. We need to, and I think that's where the things will start changing. The conversations will start changing when we can see more men building other support networks for men and lifting men up and allowing them the places to be seen and heard, because, there's no point, society holding this standard for men that they can't be themselves, really. Men want to be seen just as much as a woman does.
Yeah.
Some men more than others, but, it needs to happen. It needs to change.
Yeah, agree.
So what is one thing, or if you can't think of one thing, like multiple things that you wish that you knew before going, down the path of experiencing pregnancy loss?
The main thing I think I wish I knew was how difficult and how lonely and isolating the road ahead was going to be. I feel like from a society point of view, you've got one section of people that, can't relate on any form. So they say nothing. And then you've got, another portion that, are parents to live babies and haven't, really had any fertility issues or losses. And they don't want to, put themselves in a position where they have to think about something like we've been through. So they again say nothing. And I don't think that's good enough. I wish I knew that, how shit and how isolating the road was going to be.
It really is such a isolating place, like an isolating road.
It's all the time too. Like it's, just probably recently, like I've felt like, I was in a good place mentally. And then probably the last couple of weeks, had a bit of a dip and for no real reason really. And, that's just grief. Like, but yeah.
Yeah. And I think allowing ourselves to understand that too, that grief just comes, and sometimes it comes with no real trigger. Like there's nothing that you can kind of pinpoint to go, well, that's what caused it.
Yeah.
But, it happens.
Well, for me, like, grief is just love with nowhere to go. And, the more that I try and understand that, the better that I feel. And, I think about Liam pretty much every second of every day. Like I look at his photo multiple times a day and, I've got it sitting in front of me now. I've got all this love for him and, I'm just oozing with love, but it's just got nowhere to go. And it's just one of the really difficult parts of life, that running from it is not going to help anyone. It's not going to help me. It's not going to help my wife. Some things you just have to go at head on, do your best.
Yeah. So perfectly said.
Oh, thank you.
Is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
Not really. If there's any other guys listening that are in Brisbane and want to join our touch team, our name is Red Nose Dads. Yeah. Got an Instagram account and they can get in touch. And that's all I want to say.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'll make sure that I pop everything.
I'm not really good at plugging. I don't really like, plugging myself. So I found that a bit difficult, to be honest.
No, this is what's going to change everything. Like you need to.
Yeah, I hope so.
We're creating momentum.
Yeah. Even if it just helps one or two men, then that has a ripple effect, Like,
yeah,
it helps them be better parents, better husbands, helps more people than just the individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it helps the person, helps the relationships that they're in.
Yeah.
And like you said, you've said multiple times as well, like it just has this ripple effect.
Yeah.
So no, plug away, because we want to allow men more space to be seen and heard and understood, or even play touch footy with those that really get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was Liam's legacy. You had a Instagram page for that one as well.
Yeah. So I kind of just use that as my personal account. But like for me, like I don't know exactly where I want to go with that. I get all these different ideas about how I want to help people. And, maybe one day, ultimately, me just being a better human being and a better father and a better husband is a part of Liam's legacy. And, he fought like from pretty much day zero of his existence. Like for a baby that had, weighed 1.75 kilos, he was a warrior. And the name Liam means strong-willed warrior in Gaelic. And like, that's exactly what he is and was. And yeah, that's just what I want to replicate and show the world.
I think that's a beautiful, tribute to him as well. Like, even if it is just Liam's legacy is you changing, and you are already helping people. You're helping other men navigate, such a difficult time by creating the touch football team and raising money and stuff like that too. So, you are changing the space, and, his little touch on little dip into this world has made such a huge impact.
Yeah. I just hope that it continues, and just want to do my best to make sure that it continues. And really, that's all we can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not going to bring him back. Like, it's not going to, I keep looking at the front door, like, or looking around corners of the house, waiting for him to, crawl around the corner, but it's just, it's not going to happen. But I just want to keep trying to be a better human being and better husband and father.
Yeah. And you are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris, for being a part of the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk and tell my piece.
You're so welcome. It's like you said, it's a really big missing piece to, the puzzle. So yeah, I'm grateful that you were able to come on and share so openly about your story and what you've been able to do. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
No worries, Sharna. Thank you.
Thank you to all that have listened in. If this episode was valuable to you, I invite you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode. Thank you for listening in with me today. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it to social media, and tag me at Institute of Healing_PL. I love seeing what is resonating with you right now. If you want to chat further, I invite you to connect with me through Instagram. Head over and follow my Instagram account, send me a DM, and let's open the communication. If you want to know more about how you can be the support for others, head to the show notes and fill out the application form for the Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification. I want to also note here that what I share within the episodes is not medical advice. If you need further support, please consult your doctor. Thank you again. Much love to you. Be gentle with yourself, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode.